Cheating wife before and after wedding plus death of my friend. My wife, 25 female, and I, 26 male, had been married for a little over a month, and my buddy, 25 male, worked with me for 3 years and was one of my closest friends. So we were lying in bed when she received a message from one of my friends and immediately swiped up. I asked her what it was and why she wanted to see it, and she said she wants to protect his privacy. I reminded her that she's my wife, and we should never hide anything, especially messages from other guys. She freaked out and said, "You don't trust me, I can't believe this, I'm sleeping on the sofa," and she erased everything between him and her on her phone and blocked him on everything. The next day, she's still upset at me, and I'm still mad at her. I stand up to her and tell her she's lost part of my trust, but if she's being honest, it was nothing, and I'd forgive her if I could see the message, but she deleted them all and blocked him. My stomach was screaming at me, but I ignored it, and the rest of the day went well and without incident. The following day, I was awakened by a phone call from a colleague, a different coworker, informing me that my buddy had committed himself the night before. I was bewildered and horrified since I had just seen him 2 days before and we had been discussing his half-day trip to go fishing. I could see my wife was struggling as well, which struck me as weird given that she only met him 3 or 4 times and hadn't spoken much about it with her. A few days later, the day after we celebrated our 1-month anniversary, I get a call from the wife saying, "Hey, please don't go over to girl's house. I need to talk to you first." I'm confused and say I don't know what she's talking about. Then the girlfriend of my friends says she needs to talk to me and unloads information that my wife and friend have been talking about for months. I go over and she shows me the messages. There were I spent approximately 30 minutes browsing through the messages and didn't even make it to the conclusion of the week. But the final text he sent was to my wife, saying, "I love you, this isn't your fault." When I got home, she was gone, and I went on a 2-day binge with no communication with her, apart from the odd drunk "you broke me" messages from me. There was also no touch with anybody else. I phone my family and tell them what occurred. They are concerned about me, which is natural, and they keep asking if I have my firearms in the home and such. I convince them that I am not a risk to myself and just need a few days to decompress. They got me in touch with their lawyer, and after over 6 hours of speaking with him, I decided to file for divorce. Last night, she texted me, saying, "I want to work through this, and we should both attend to individual and couples therapy." I haven't messaged her back because I'm afraid she'll attempt to scold me, but I'm hoping she'll be courteous and say, "My stuff is mine, your stuff is yours." I pray to God that she isn't pregnant as well. So I'm sitting at home with my 2 dogs, waiting to hear from my lawyer that she's been served. Update. I'd like to explain the backstory a little bit. Me and my future ex-wife have been dating for 6 years and engaged since February. We got married in September. And in most of that time, I worked over the road for 4 years, and in the last 2 years, I settled into a nice little town where there's steady work in my field that doesn't require me to move around a lot. S2's chemical transfers and spill response. I bought a house 1 year ago. Third, the guy with whom she cheated on me was a dear friend of mine. He lived in the same town where I settled, and we were fishing pals for 2-3 years before I hired him, and we worked together for 3 years. I've had him and his girlfriend over for dinner many times, and I've gone over to their house several times. I didn't invite him to our wedding because he make a joke about someone's wife, and he gazed at me for 1 or 2 seconds too long, which made my stomach churn. Fourth, I learned that my wife had broken up with him the day before he committed himself, and that she was the last person he contacted before committing suicide. Here's an update. For the time being, I'll try to fill in some of the details of the past week or 2. I've been essentially clean for the last few weeks, going out very seldom and with friends, and spending no time at home or at a bar by myself drinking. I was unable to attend the funeral or memorial service for the lately dead. While striving to keep in contact with my wife to the greatest extent feasible, I've been responding to her questions regarding health insurance and other similar matters. I immediately contacted an attorney and instructed him to begin preparing divorce papers as soon as possible following my original post. My friend told me 3 to 4 days after my wife had departed that my wife had phoned her and claimed that she had been admitted to the hospital for a suicide attempt. A half hour later, I got a text from my wife informing me that she had been released because she had promised not to damage herself to the staff. I presumed she was lying, since that is not how hospitals in that area handle suicide attempts. A day later, I got an Apple Watch from the deceased man's girlfriend, which included messages dating back to the day we returned from our honeymoon. It was a beautiful gesture, early October. As a result of supplying him with the watch, he now has complete control over all of the messages and images related to the case. But, for any messages received before to that date, they both wiped them, and I will not be able to access them until we get the phone back from the police. Other than setting up a time for her to come and get more of her clothes, there hasn't been much communication between us. Me and the deceased man's girlfriend have spoken on the phone occasionally, and I've expressed my gratitude to her for informing me, even though I know it must have been especially difficult for her. I'm planning to gift her a lot of things or just anonymous cash in the mail to help her and her daughter out, but I'm not sure what yet. The divorce petition was filed on October 22, 2011, and she should be served quickly after that, either by the end of today, October 29, 2011, or by the beginning of the next week. I'm still under the impression that she is unaware of my plans for divorce, which is perfect for me. Because our state is a no-fault state, she has the legal right to try to claim half of my possessions. But, because the marriage was so short, the court will simply separate us and our goods from the time before to the marriage. No, I am not interested in anything she has. I am not interested in her automobile, and I am not interested in her money, not that she has any. All I want is to maintain my house, car, dogs, and retirement income as they are, and I hope to God that she isn't carrying a pregnancy test result. All in all, that's pretty much everything that's happened in the last several weeks. Update 2. After a time, more and more coworkers began to tell me that they were aware of the affair but didn't want to tell me because it wasn't my place, or I didn't want to make things uncomfortable. Apparently, the man wasn't quiet about it and was sending her naked around work, so I've had folks come up to me and show me my wife, saying, "Hey dude, isn't this your wife?" I also heard that she had paid him money a couple of times. Some of the money that I had sent her to pay for the wedding, and that they had been contacting each other every day 3-6 times a day for months, and that they had taken a hotel room together at some point in August or September. She has consistently lied till I bring forward another truth after another. So I simply stopped communicating with her. She may be coming over tomorrow or this weekend to pick up some of her belongings, and I have a buddy coming over to essentially oversee, so she can't accuse me of anything. I've packed the most of her belongings. She was served this weekend, and I couldn't be happier, despite the fact that everything appears boring and gloomy. I committed the past 6 years of my life to her. We were planned our future, and she tossed it all away. And she really believed that there would be some sort of forgiveness and a relationship, and that we could recover together after this, before she was served. I have my family and select friends to thank for their unending love and support, but I also wanted to thank each and every one of you for your advice and support through this difficult period in my life.